and welcome to Awaz-e-Haqiqat, which stands for the Voice of Truth. This is one more episode that you are listening to. I'm your host, Chris Malika Bhadra, and depending on whichever part of the world you're listening to us from, today or tonight, or whatever time zone it is at your point of time, um, I'm going to be talking about something that is important, that is something someone who is working at the grassroots level. And the reason I say this is important is because the times we are living in, it is so important to be working at the grassroots level, to be connected to what's actually happening at that level of the society. So it gives me great honor on that note to introduce my guest. Anushree Dash. Anushree is a gender equality advocate, human rights activist, and social entrepreneur working at the forefront of gender justice, women's leadership, and systemic change. She's the founder and chairperson of ADiBha She Vision, a non-profit initiative dedicated to advancing women's rights, amplifying the voices of women and girls, and promoting their meaningful participation in governance, policy, and decision-making spaces. She is also the founder of ADiBha, a social enterprise focused on creating sustainable pathways for women's empowerment. Widely recognized as the Pad Woman of Odisha for her pioneering work in menstrual health and hygiene, Anushree has been a strong advocate for women's health, girls' education, prevention of child sexual abuse, elimination of child marriage, and addressing gender based violence. Her work focuses on creating safer, more equitable communities while challenging deeply rooted patriarchal structures. On that note, very, very good evening, Anushree. Thank you so much for joining in, giving me your time. How are you doing?
Good evening, Awaz-e-Haqiqat. I'm doing amazing. I'm doing well, rooted in my purpose and unapologetic about the space I choose to occupy today with you.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much. Because I am aware, and for our listeners, Anushree was a little unwell, so thanks to her for giving me her time, even in that busyness of life. Anushree, I'll hop on to the conversation. And the first thing that I'd like to know from you is um we talk a lot about gender equality, gender equity as well, rather, if you say. How do we shift the focus from simply increasing female representation to ensuring that there is actual equity and inclusion taking place?
Um, Representation and female representation. So,
Mm-hmm.
this was never meant to be the destination for us. Representation was supposed to be the doorway. But somewhere along the way, we mistook visibility for victory.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if I have to simply put it, having more women in rooms that were historically close to them is definitely important. Yes, it is. But but the real question is what happens after they enter? Are they
Mm-hmm.
heard? Are they shaping decisions? Or are they simply expected to adapt to system they were never designed for them? I believe equity begins where tokenism ends. Because the truth is, there are many places which are willing to accommodate women, but not transform for the women they're accommodating.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, what I truly understood is we need to move beyond counting women to valuing women. This means redesigning structures, which includes, of course, which includes policies, workplaces, leadership culture, so that they're not just inclusive in language, but in experiences.
Yeah.
Which absolutely means funding women-led ideas, trusting women's leadership, and
Mm-hmm.
dismantling biases that are so deeply normalized
Yeah.
that they are often go unquestioned.
Mm-hmm.
So if we see the shift is very simple from presence to power, from participation to influence, from being seen to being valued.
Mm-hmm.
So equity is not something which we give to women anymore. It is something that has been historically denied and must be restored. So for me, this is not about representation anymore. This is about redesigning, rewriting power with women at the center of it, at the core of it.
Hmm. Lovely.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. But that kind of what you've raised here, Anushree, leads me to the second part, second question rather. We talk about gender equality, or rather, I have kind of shifted focus more to gender equity. And I think the first base where we need to start looking at is the household dynamic, right? Now, when we talk about a
Right.
household dynamic and we are trying to find out a solution from where all of this starts, in your opinion, Anushree, and the amazing work you do, how does the motherhood penalty compare to the fatherhood bonus in such a situation?
Motherhood penalty and fatherhood bonus.
Yes.
Uh, the contrast, uh, the contrast over here is not just real; it's revealing.
Mm-hmm.
When a woman becomes mother, uh, suddenly her commitment is questioned. Her ambition is quietly doubted. Her
Mm-hmm.
opportunities subtly reduced. But when a man becomes a father, he is seen as more responsible, more deserving of growth.
Mm-hmm.
Same life event, but
Right.
completely different consequences.
Mm-hmm.
This is nothing but bias. The motherhood penalty is not just about pay gaps or missed leadership opportunities or maybe missed promotion. It's about the invisible assumption that women will stay back, women will slow down,
Right.
women will choose less.
Mm-hmm.
And the fatherhood bonus exists because men are rarely expected to step in equally in home. So the issue is not motherhood, it is the unequal distribution of care.
Right.
And if we see what actually works, first we need to stop treating caregiving as a women's issue. It's absolutely not a women's issue. Actually, we need a deeper cultural shift over here where ambition in women is not seen as a conflict with motherhood,
Right.
and care in men is not seen as an exception. If we see in Supreme Court, there was a parental leave. There was recent talk going on about parental leave. So equal parental leave is one of the most powerful shift because when men are expected to take leave and step into the caregiving responsibility, so the caregiving stops become optional for them and
Right.
default for women.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, what I think re-entering pathway and career continuity support and the flexible work policies must be de-gendered. Because if you see the current scenario, most of this flexible work policy or re-entering is more supportive to for men, whether it's not there for women. So until we care, until care is valued as a work, every working mother will have to continue twice. Once one is outside the house, which is in workplace,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
one within her home,
Mm-hmm.
always seen as half because definitely we are being questions that so caregiving is your responsibility. What extra you are doing? So our responsibility, our caregiving job, which is highly unpaid, is always seen as negligible or as half. So we need to value care as a work.
Mm-hmm. Lovely. But Anushree, when you say that we need to value and this is a bias, there is a bias, right? Let's not deny it. There is a bias, although we shrug away from it, we don't talk about it. I want to know from you, what is the exact difference when we say there is a diverse culture, there is an inclusive culture, but what is the difference when it comes to diversity and inclusion? And how can we represent women more, especially when they are coming from underrepresented populations or societal communities?
Diversity, if we see, is more about representation. Who
Mhm.
is present? That is
Mm.
diversity. And inclusion for me is who is heard, who is respected, who has the power to influence. We have spent far too long celebrating the first, that is
Right.
diversity, while neglecting the second one, which is inclusion, which should be the core of today's discussion or any discussion in today's time and era.
Yeah.
Because what I believe, diversity can be curated. It can be photographed, it can be reported, it can be showcased. But inclusion, it cannot be performed. You have to practice it every
Right.
single day in decisions, in leadership, in
Mm.
community. Who gets to speak? Who get to
Mm.
lead? Whose
Mm.
voice is heard? That has to
Yeah.
be practiced every single day, every single
Mm.
moment, in every single
Mm.
decision.
Mm.
So when it comes to, because you were specific about underrepresented community, so when it comes to women from represented community or marginalized community
Yes.
or underserved communities, the risk is not just exclusion anymore. It's tokenism disguised as progress. We
Right.
invite them to room, we definitely invite them to room, but we expect them to represent the entire communities. We
Mm.
amplify their presence, but not always their perspective.
Mm.
um, we definitely celebrate the underserved communities women, we definitely celebrate their identity, but often silence their discomfort. So this is not inclusion at all, this is
Mm.
optics.
Mm. Mm.
um, Real representation begins when we stop treating women as symbols and start giving them agency and the
Mm.
authority. We need to start recognizing them as individual with advocacy, with agency, with authority, which absolutely means that we don't have to give them seat. It's we have moved from giving them a seat to sharing the power at the table.
Mm.
So we need to share that power with them.
Right.
And most importantly, inclusion is not about making space for someone. It's actually about redefining the space itself. So
Mm.
diversity, as I said, is just being invited to the room,
Mm.
whereas inclusion is when the room changes because you walked in. So we need to have that cultural shift, that shift in the mindset, shift in the entire systematic design from
Right.
diversity to inclusion. And
Mm.
that's not for only underrepresented community, that's for all the women. If
Anyone.
we consider women as a community, for everyone, we need to do that power shift.
Anushree, you raised a very important point that we need to change the space of the room, right? We need to adjust the room dynamics accordingly.
Mhm.
I have a very simple ask, and I keep trying to find the answer really. How do we raise that awareness? Like you are in one part of the world, I'm in another part of the world, and still we are stuck on this problem that there is not enough space in the room for all of us. The room is structured in a way that does not recognize all of us. How do we raise that awareness that that room needs to change?
So we need to challenge which is there. We need to challenge the biases, we need to challenge the stereotypes which has been so deeply rooted in our mind
Mm.
and in our
Right.
society. We
Mm.
need to pause and reflect. We
Mm.
need to keep asking ourselves the question that would I think the same if the gender were different?
Yeah.
So that question need to be asked time and again, because
Mm.
gender stereotype mostly, if we see, or the biases, if we mostly see, it doesn't shout. It
Mm.
has been so normalized, is
Yes.
actually whispers.
Yes.
It generally in our culture, in our society, if we see it hide behind words like fit and culture.
Mm.
So
Mm.
uh, if we see that it's there in our home, it's there at workplace, it's there in society,
Everywhere.
in public space,
Mm.
everywhere, public society and public spaces also. In society and public space, judgment about clothing, behavior, mobility, safety are of very harsh for women, whereas
Yes.
men face the pressure to confirm their strength and the provider role,
Yeah.
which has resulted in a restricted freedom. and
Mm.
restricted freedom for women, and there is internalized guilt, there is identity conflict for all the women. If we see the scenario of home also, since we were discussing about caregiving, other than caregiving also, women are expected to take the responsibility of cooking, emotional
Yes.
labor, where men are discouraged from expressing their vulnerability and
Mm.
sharing domestic responsibility. And when there is unequal distribution of work, there is invisible labor, there is emotional burnout, which is only pertaining to women, and men are never part of it. And
Mm.
same is the case for workplace also. In the workplace also, it's since we are talking about motherhood bias also.
Yeah.
So if women generally, if we see, they're maybe seen as less assertive, too emotional, whereas we consider men as the natural leaders. And
Right.
hiring, promotion, pay, everything depends on this assumption about the
Mm.
commitment, because women in general are considered as less assertive. So we need to first pause, we need to reflect, and we need to interrupt ourselves, because the problem is not that who is speaking it loud. The problem is that we have stayed silent too long, for too long. So we are silently agreeing to everything which has been forced to us by
Yes.
the
Yeah.
society.
Agree.
On the on, I what I believe is we are also taking advantage of the biases also. In many cases, you will say that this biases or the stereotype has given comfort or
Mm.
advantage to many people, so we need to
Mm.
be willing to lose that advantage that bias is giving us, and dismantling biases, um, not just with fairness, but it's about we need to give that unearned, we need to get rid of the unearned power also.
Mhm.
So that is how only we can challenge it, and we can stop this on the grass on each and every step of our life.
Absolutely, Anushree. Very, very important points. But when you say biases, I agree. There are a lot of biases in the community that kind of often block our mindset. And I think what also you've tried to raise here is unlearning, right? Only when we unlearn something, we can have the capacity to learn something new, which works for the new rules that we have. But there is a gender stereotype, as you mentioned, domestic labor or motherhood or workplace, all of that. When you combine gender stereotypes and these unconscious biases that affect us, how do these two, when clubbed together, impact our everyday decision making abilities, and how can we challenge them?
I think I've spoken about this in my earlier conversation as well. So, gender stereotype, they are so subtle, they are so deeply rooted in our society, and then they actually camouflaged themselves as fit and culture. So
Yeah.
they show up in decisions we refuse to question. Actually, who gets the opportunity, who gets spoken over, who gets the leadership without having to prove it twice,
Mm.
who is called confident, who is want to tone it down. So the same kind of behavior, but gender decides the narrative. And in different scenario, what we were discussing at
Mm.
home, at workplace, at public spaces, this gender stereotype is there. So if we
Mm.
see gender stereotype, the leadership always looks like a man.
Yeah.
And leadership always looks like a man, and care looks like a woman. Ambition, if we come to the this particular word, ambition, then it
Mm.
is respected in men and registered in women. So this is not gender stereotyping anymore or bias anymore. This is a systematic design. We need to challenge it as soon as possible. We need to ask ourselves the question time and again. We can't be neutral. We need to interrupt ourselves, and no. We need to break the silence, actually. We need to break the silence. It's not that we have to be loud, we have to be rebel always, but we are agreeing to so many things without questioning, without confronting the same thing. So we need to get rid of that comfort zone. We need to speak it out. We need to stop being silent anymore. So
Right.
what I believe, if challenging bias doesn't cost you comfort, then you are not probably challenging it at all, challenging
Mm,
it at all. So
right.
that is how we need to, that the time has come where we need to reflect. A lot of reflection is required. Even if we are getting the benefit of gender bias, even if we are getting the benefit of stereotyping in some way or other, the time has come where we need to break the silence.
Absolutely. Anushree, but I think maybe from a layman perspective, I see this as a two-way spectrum, right? One way you're trying to break the glass ceiling. You're trying to break away the bias, the stereotype. And we need, as you mentioned, we need to retrospect. And the other side of the spectrum is once I retrospect, I realize that what I had learned for so many years of my life might not be the most accurate version. I need to let it go and I need to incorporate new learnings. I need to imbibe the new way society is evolving. A lot of the times when I speak to people, I see people are very resistant to change. They're very scared to let go of their preconceived notions. How do we enable people so that they can let go of those unlearnings and they are willing to adapt to change? How do we bring about that scare to go away from people?
I think we have come to that stage where we have understood that we can unlearn and we can relearn new things. For that, I think both the gender, male and female, we need to come together
Mm,
as ally, and we need to design the system, design policies, design the society, design the home in
mm,
such a way where unlearning is possible. And we
mm,
have to start it very early. I mean, our boys need to understand how to pay respect to women. Our
mm,
mother-in-law need to understand that she is no more the dictator of the house, or she can't decide the rule of for the house, or specifically for her daughter-in-law. So
mm,
in that
mm.
way, we need to create an allyship. We need to create a sisterhood between women also, where we are supporting each other. Women supporting women will be the biggest challenge for the gender who are still afraid of women empowerment, you know.
Right.
So yeah, so I think putting I always believe that the rules and the regulation of the society, because our society is highly patriarchal, it's been decided, it's been designed by the male, but implementation part is always on the women. So that's
Mm,
why we are being projected that women are women's biggest enemy. So we need to come out of that zone where we are designing, or we are restricting someone's life, someone's choices, and we need to create the sisterhood. And for that, I think we need to question. There need to have dialogue. There should be more forum where women issues are considered
brought
as
up.
human issues.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
So yeah.
No, lovely, Anushri. But I'll pick up on one of your points. And I think it's pivotal that we start bringing men onto the table, right? For these conversations.
Yes.
Now, when we have to bring men to the table, how can we create that safe culture whereby men are active allies for gender equality rather than just passively observing from the side curtains? How can we get them to be on our side, in a sense?
Uh, Allies with men.
Mm,
So it is not about just including men as an afterthought. It's about, when we talk about allyship, it's about reshaping the norms, reshaping power and participation, so that equality or equity becomes everyone's responsibility.
mm,
Often, what I have seen and experienced, men stand at the edges, agreeing, oh, yeah, nodding, it happens, and even sympathizing, oh, it has happened to you, it shouldn't have happened. So, these three things, agreeing, nodding, and sympathizing. But allyship doesn't live in agreement, it lives in action.
mm,
Um, we need to make them understand that patriarchy doesn't just disadvantage women, it also confines men. So you
Mm.
are also facing the ill effect of patriarchy. It teaches men to suppress their emotion and to equate dominance with strength, to
Mm.
stay silent when they should speak. So they need to understand from the core that patriarchy is not a women issue, or it's not that women are
Yeah.
fighting for. It's a societal issue, which
Mm.
is not giving them the full scope or full chance to express themselves through emotion, because end of the day they are also human
Yeah.
being with
Yeah.
uh, with with emotion, with sympathy, with empathy. So question is not, do men support gender equality? The question is, um, are men willing to practice it? So
Right.
that's the question.
Exactly.
And for
Exactly.
that, I believe we need to redefine the masculinity, that
Mm. Mm.
what it takes to be a man. We must expand what it means to be a man, that definition of men, you know. So strength should include empathy, care, respect, and normalizing things like caregiving in men. So
Mm.
men can be caregivers, men can be listeners, men
Yeah.
can be collaborators, not just providers or the decision makers, because this has been stereotyped that being a man means just providing and taking decision on behalf of the family, whereas they
Mm.
can be caregiver, they can be close ally, they can be collaborating. So, and we need to do that from a very early stage. We need to start early. We need to raise our boys to value respect, consent, emotional intelligence, and for that I think school is the best place. we
Yes.
need to cha- we need to challenge the stereotypes in schools, in home. Before school, I think in home also we need to implement them. School,
Mm.
home, and that to media also. In media also, we need to understand the role of media in challenging the stereotype and making changing the definition of men,
Yeah.
manhood rather. So
Absolutely.
uh, and I believe equality grows stronger through collaboration, not through confrontation. We need to encourage co creation, where men and women are working together towards a solution. Avoid framing this gender equality as a battle of sides, because
Mm.
gone are those days when we were deprived of the basic things and it was always a battle of sides. We were fighting a different battle, but
Mm.
now we have a decent representation, everyone. We can see diversity in most of the forum, inclusion in couple of forums, in many of the forums as well. So now we need to co-create things, and we need to stop this battle of sides actually, and we need to work towards finding out solutions.
Correct. I agree. I totally agree that we have to be proactive on solution finding rather than just reactive on issues. But coming to yourself as an individual, Anushree, you don multiple hats. You're doing so much amazing, so much work for the community, and that's amazing. But on a difficult day, Anushree, how do you take care of your mental health?
I'm glad that actually two women are talking about or discussing about mental health of women, one topic which is highly been neglected
Absolutely.
till
Mm.
date.
Mm.
Yeah, of course, there are days when the weight of responsibilities, expectations, and
Yes.
emotions feels heavier than
Mm.
usual, and that happens to everyone. And on those days, I won't be calling those bad days, but on those days, I don't try to outrun it. I sit with it. I acknowledge it, because I believe ignoring how we feel doesn't make us stronger. It makes
Mm.
us quieter within ourselves. So I return to small things. I return to small grounding practices, maybe a moment of stillness, maybe deep breath, meditation, stepping away from the noise, even if just for a while. I prefer stepping away from the noise. noise of the world outside and inside also. So I believe in grounding practices.
Mm.
I also remind myself that I don't have to carry it alone. So reaching out to people, because of course we have many friends, family, many people, well wishers also. So reaching out has always helped me. So I
Mm.
believe in reaching out to friends, family, even just writing my thoughts down. That has helped me to shift my weight.
Right.
And yeah, I think on difficult days, or on this days, I also remind myself of something simple, that life was never meant to be lived in the constant high. There will be seasons of low also. So
Yeah.
that's how life is meant to be. There are highs, there are lows, and
Mm.
both are equal part of
Yes.
being human. So the only you accept it, that there will be highs and lows, you will be more energetic. And I try to keep myself positive, as much positive as possible.
Yeah.
And positivity, for me, is no longer about appearing unaffected. It's about staying grounded, uh, even when things are not perfect. It's about practicing and protecting my energy. It's about honoring my emotions and moving through life with happiness, with courage. So yeah, that
Lovely.
that this is some simple thing which I practice.
Absolutely. And I think these simple things are the key to, as you said, grounding ourselves and bringing the mind to one point. Um, Anushree, if anyone, okay, before I ask for your social media handles, what would be your message to anybody who might be listening to us?
Mhm. I think this is the most difficult question. uh, to everyone listening, especially the women, uh, who have been told to shrink, adjust, and stay
Mm.
silent, this is your reminder. You were never meant to fit into spaces that require you to become less of yourself, to be agreeable, to be palatable, or
Mm.
to be just enough, but never too much.
Right.
So, the moment you step outside that script, it will question you.
Mm.
When you become less agreeable, less palatable, it will question you, but let it. Because every time you choose your voice over approval, your truth over comfort, you are not just showing up for yourself, you are shifting the narrative for every woman who is watching, waiting, and wondering if she can also do the same thing.
Mm.
And I believe we have men listeners as well.
We do.
Okay. And to the men listening, um, uh, in the room where sexism is normalized, where silence is not neutrality, it is endorsement. So speak, interrupt the bias, share the power, because equality is not a women's battle to fight alone. We can't do it alone. It's not our battle, it's a battle of humanity. And to
Yes.
all of us, um, I think stop asking for permission. You don't
Yes.
need to be louder to be heard. You need to stop being quieter to be accepted. Take up the space, because what I believe, you are meant to fly. The sky is yours. You are meant to fly. Fly higher, fly higher than your imagination, fly higher than patriarchy, fly higher than anything, and refuse to apologize for your ambition, your boundary, and your voice. That's
Abs-
something I want to say to everyone, all the listeners.
Beautiful, Anushree. Very, very profound and something that touches the heart and very relevant as well. And last but not the least, if someone were to reach out to yourself, where can we find you on social media?
So, in the time and era of social media, I make myself available to everyone. You
Mm.
can visit my website, that is www.anushreedas.in, or
Yeah.
else you can find me on LinkedIn uh, by just typing my name, Anushree Das. I'm available on both Facebook and Instagram as well. On Facebook, you can find me by the Anushree Das. It's THE the Anushree Das. And on Instagram, I have a lovely handle. They call me Nari. So that's
Ah,
my handle where you can
nice.
find me.
Lovely. Thank you, Anushree.
And
This was
if you want to, if anyone wish to get connected to me also, you can send me a mail as well. Anushree_das@hotmail.com. That's my mail ID.
lovely. Thank you, Anushree. This was a very important, critical, and heartwarming conversation because, as I mentioned, as you also mentioned, gender equity is something that we constantly need to evaluate and talk about and bring allies into the conversation, right? It's not about isolation, it's about changing the scope of the room to include everyone. On that note, to our listeners, if you've heard this conversation on this platform for the first time, please let me know on what your thoughts were, and you can reach out to me on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram as Awaz-e-Haqiqat, or you can also write to me at awazehaqiqat@gmail.com. Or if you've heard a few podcasts or heard a few episodes consistently on this platform, and if you've got any feedback or comments, you can write to me as well, or you can reach out to me on the above mentioned platforms. On that note, this was Anushree Dash joining us, such a trailblazer of an individual working grassroots communities, helping them. Anushree, wish you all the best, and I hope we can come back again in the future for some more of these important conversations. So, thank you so much for giving me your time.
Certainly. Thank you, Awaz-e-Haqiqat, for having me.